And, you know, and you might say to yourself, well, John Oliver, yeah, he's a smarmy, sniveling little British douchebag. Sure, he looks and sounds like an overgrown weasel.
Oh, please don't tell me you had a writing staff come up with this part where everyone's like, okay, and then you got to make fun of him. I hope that's just you. I hope so. And even then, oof.
11th season from...
If you missed it, it was pretty funny. Basically, he does an entire special about how the authority of the Supreme Court of the United States, if you didn't know this, it's really based on whether or not people recognize it. And as Republicans are now showing, if they're deciding that they don't recognize the authority of the Supreme Court, well, then it kind of calls into question, what is the authoritative body that the Supreme Court has in order to impose its measures upon the states? And then suddenly we're getting into states' rights, which is whether or not the purview of the federal government is going to be able to infringe upon the rights of the states and their ability to be localized bigots in some cases. So hey, that would be all okay if it wasn't for the fact that the Supreme Court of the United States, the members of the Supreme Court, they're allowed to take personal gifts. Now, you could call them bribes. I certainly would, but that's up to you. But they're allowed to take gifts from private individuals. As in, if you're an American, you can offer members of the Supreme Court of the United States, just as a private citizen of the United States, presents. I mean, they can choose not to accept them, but you're allowed to just give them. You can just be like, would you like a gift? And you can give them a present. Now, that present could be a cookie. It could be a cake. It could be an all expenses paid trip or cruise to a very exotic location. It could be any number of things. It could be a Winnebago. It could be a house. It could be forgiving all of the student debt, or for, say, the case of your kids, the private school debt that they accrued by going to very expensive private schools. If that debt is suddenly forgiven by someone who is or is not evil, that's just up to you, the member of the Supreme Court, to decide whether or not you want to accept those little gifties. And so I guess as a bit, they discussed it with their legal team, John Oliver, and decided it'd be really funny if he offered Clarence Thomas $1 million a year to quit. Now, in the bit, he states explicitly, this is not an offer from HBO. This is not an offer from any, corporate entity that I'm a part of. This is me privately as a citizen of the United States saying, I will offer you, Clarence Thomas, in the next 30 days. So I guess we're down to 26 days as of me recording this. We're down to 26 days for you to accept this offer. You quit the Supreme Court of the United States. In exchange, I will give you $1 million a year privately of my own private money, as well as a very, very nice RV. I think the RV is like $2.7 million because apparently Clarence Thomas loves massive, monstrous, like condo-sized RVs that have multiple bathtubs. Multiple bathtubs! How many bathtubs do you need in one RV? I question this. Everyone needs to be able to have a bath at once at any given time? Okay, all right then.
Of his weekly show on Sunday, saying Thomas has made the lives of Americans demonstrably worse and promising him a brand new luxury recreational vehicle if he agrees to step down from the high court. We have this clip of this comedy bit, I suppose it's supposed to be. Here it is, watch.
Now, from stripping away women's rights to...
Yeah, I'm just going to, because I'm broadcasting on YouTube, I was worried about whether or not I could show you any of the John Oliver episode. I'm sure you could all watch it. It's free, I believe. The episode on Clarence Thomas is anyway on their YouTubes. You can go watch it there, but I will describe what he's talking about. Stripping away women's rights in cases you definitely not be hearing for the potential, helping to roll back decades of federal regulations, and you deserve a break, away from the meanness of Washington so you can be both surrounded by the regular folks whose lives you've made demonstrably worse for decades now. And the good news is, I think we can help you there, because since your favorite mode of travel might be in need of an upgrade, we are excited to offer you this brand new top of the line pre-marathon motor coach. Look at this beauty, Clarence. It's worth $2.4 million and it's got a full bedroom. Yes, that is a king bed, a king bed in a motor home. Why don't you just fly in a private jet? It'll be like luxurious. It'll take a very small amount of time and then stay at a luxurious destination on the other end instead of having these monstrosities exist. You don't need mobile mansions. That is so wild. Oh, it's got a full bedroom. Yes, that king size bed, 1.5 baths, a fireplace, 4 TVs, a washer dryer, and I quote, a residential size fridge. Residential size fridge. Wow. Yeah, road yacht. And if you're thinking, oh, I get it. Yeah, driving across the country is fun. Can you not drive across the country in a $150,000 to $200,000 RV? Is that not? I'm assuming that's very nice. It's got everything you need. It's got maybe one bath, just one, and maybe only one pull-out hot tub in the back. You'd have to share with your wife. That's true. But you could have a romantic weekend together. I assume that's part of the entire appeal of this whole thing. Right? Does it need to be a $2.4 million? Does it need a king-size bed and multiple baths? That's the thing I ask you. Would you be just as well served with one bath and one hot tub? Then you need the 2.5. Like, and if you're thinking, what will my friends, if I take this offer, will they judge me as they sit in their boardrooms and their mega yachts and Hitler shrines? Will they still treat me to luxury vacations and sing songs about me off their phones? Well, that's the beauty of friendship, Clarence. If they're real friends, they'll love you no matter what your job is. So I guess this might be the perfect way to find out who your real friends actually are. Now, if you're a little confused about the whole Nazi thing, I mean, if you haven't watched Illuminati's video on this topic, I would highly recommend Illuminati's video on this topic. Maybe I'll quickly play you a little highlight of that so you can just get a taste of why it's so fucked up that Clarence Thomas, more so I believe than any other member currently of the Supreme Court, takes the most amount of presents from Harlan Crow.
Property. Once the summer retreat of the same heiress who built Mar-a-Lago, you know where Trump be kicking it, features an artificial waterfall and a great hall where Crow's guests are served meals prepared by private chefs, child. Also on Sugar Daddy Crow's dime, Clarence and his wife. Yes, the same wife that Clarence Thomas refused to recuse himself from cases related to her involvement in the January 6th attempt to overturn the 2020 presidential election. Yes, that wife. Clarence Thomas and his insurrectionist-ass wife spent 9 days island hopping on a super yacht, getting waited on by private attendants for a trip that cost more than $500,000. Speaking of the wife, it ain't no fun if the homies can't get some too, so Crow also gave her $500,000 to a Tea Party group that was founded by her, and he paid her a $120,000 salary. There's an important reason why judges are required to report gifts of a particular value. Although no government institution can truly be a non-political body, despite anyone's best wishes, the rationale behind giving the Supreme Court justices lifetime appointments is that by not having to worry about being reelected, reappointed, or the usual political processes, judges will be protected from partisan pressures. The Supreme Court has an extra responsibility to appear fair or impartial, and not like our regular politicians in Congress who have known party allegiances and agendas they must cow to. Which is why, if we're honest, the existence itself of so close a relationship between a sitting Supreme Court justice and a Republican super donor should draw scrutiny. Let alone when that Supreme Court justice has knowingly and repeatedly chosen to forego his ethics in exchange for lavish living for he and his crooked ass wife. But ProPublica reported the details of his discussions with.
By the way, you can almost like point out the fact that they are going to be ruling on a lot of things related to the January 6th coup attempters, and one of the people who is a very strong advocate for, you know, the election being stolen and that kind of stuff happens to be Clarence Thomas's wife. So that, you know, doesn't play well into this entire situation. If you haven't seen this already, by the way, go check out Illuminati's channel. She's got a great rundown of the whole thing. She's got a fucking phenomenal joke though about Harlan Crow having all this Nazi memorabilia. If you didn't know about this, by the way, I'll show you just a quick clip so you can get a taste for all of the incredible stuff featured.
Photorealistic painting that Harlan Crow.
I'm just going to turn this down until he gets to the video because, you know, YouTube be doing copyright strikes if I play any too much of John Oliver, but I do want it to get to the whole, yeah, and what the fuck? The signed copy.
Piece of art that Harlan Crow owns, you are mistaken.
Published reports say Dallas tycoon Harlan Crow's controversial collection includes Hitler's notorious autobiography Mein Kampf, signed by Hitler, oil paintings by Hitler, and linen napkins embroidered with the Nazi swastika. The collection is housed at Crow's mansion in Dallas. I can't get over the collection of Nazi memorabilia, said one guest who...
That's not something you should ever hear said about your dwelling, ever. Like, of all the things, it's like, yeah, it was kind of messy. The food wasn't that great. Yeah, you know, it'd be nice if they had maybe cleaned the bathroom beforehand. But otherwise, yeah, I had a splendid time. Not like there's just so much Nazi memorabilia. That is a notable part of my experience. Being in that home is the amount of Nazi shit that I saw that was surrounding me all the time. That's why, like, when Olayemi was like, you know what I'm afraid of? Dolls. You know what I don't have in my house? A bunch of fucking dolls. Like, you can apply that to anything. Like, what scares you? Are you upset by, say, like Ringu, you know, like the Japanese film, and the idea that if you look over at your television there's going to be like a little creepy girl crawling out of it and moving all strange and stuff? Does that scare you? Well, yeah, okay, fine. Would you want every aspect of your house to ooze that? Just Ringus everywhere? Just every time you look over, every single mirror or reflection or dog bowl even or dish has a fucking little, like, you know, creepy girl with long black hair crawling out of it going towards you? And then when people are like, why the fuck is this shit everywhere? You're like, I'm just a big fan of the film series. Yeah, I like it a lot. And it's like, well, yeah, like, if you think Nazis bad, why the fuck are the Nazis shit everywhere? You know? Oh, I'm just a historian. I care a lot about this page. So you wait, if you were a historian, you know, we could justify maybe one copy of Mein Kampf or something. But like, just to have all this like jewelry and costumes and gold and napkins and silverware and like, no, you're clearly obsessed with this shit, right?
Saw the Nazi treasure trove. You sort of just gasp when you walk into the room.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Right. So anyways, the whole reason that I'm going through all of this and showing you all of these and explaining all of this is that leads us back to basically John Oliver and his offer, which again, it's not the first time John Oliver has done a bit, or HBO has done a bit where, well, sorry, I have to be clear, HBO has nothing to do with this. They've done a bit which there is a legal team who works at HBO. So John Oliver is not hiring his own lawyers in this respect. There's a legal team who go over his ideas, his scripts and sketches, and then they find out whether or not they're allowed to do them. That's why there's always a part where he says, now, I have to tell you. The reason he says that is his legal team has told him to do this bit, you actually legally now have to say this next part so we can't get sued. And so that next part is going to add their official statement on this matter is in fact that this is not true and that they categorically deny it. But still, that's why that part always happens in the episodes. That's the legal team that has run over it. So in this case, yes, the legal team ran over this and was like, okay, so we personally as a company cannot directly endorse a bribe of this kind, or a gift, if you will. So this is a gift if you want, but it would have to come personally from you, the offer of the gift. So in that case, yes, sure, you're capable of offering it, but you can't do it associated with HBO. $1 million a year, Clarence, and a brand new condo on wheels, and all you have to do, return, is sign the contract and get off the Supreme Court, and there you have it.
You know, I have to say, I actually despise John Oliver maybe more than I despise anybody in media. And
wow, high praise, John. That's nice. That's good. Like, there's no finer badge of honor, you know? If you have this disgusting, humorless, fucking obsessed with Sweet Baby Gang making diaper dolls of himself, like that dude, yeah, you've done good.
And I understand that's quite a statement, because I have nothing but seething contempt for all of them.
Yeah, like I would make a trophy, honestly. I'm #1 hated by Matt Walsh.
And you know, and you might say to yourself, well, John Oliver, yeah, he's a smarmy, sniveling little British douchebag. Sure, he looks and sounds like an overgrown weasel.
Oh, please don't tell me you had a writing staff come up with this part where everyone's like, okay, and then you got to make fun of him. I hope that's just you. I hope so. And even then, oof. But yeah, I'm going to guess there's probably not going to be any kind of, let's just say, rebuttal. because he doesn't know who the fuck you are. Or if Googling you, you just find out Matt Walsh is kind of just gross. It's one of those people that like you don't even want to tackle. You don't want to do a video essay on this person because you're like, this whole situation or thing is gross. And like, yeah, okay, so this guy has a long history of defending the impregnation of young teenage girls. He thinks that like 16 is the ideal age of fertility for young girls. And he also used to do diaper wrestling judgment for like, there would be these Nazis who would dress up as grown adults in diapers and they would wrestle each other and he would judge them for this, like it was kind of like his shock jock stuff. He would make people like lick trash cans and other weird fetish shit. And then he kind of took all of his diaper fetish stuff into adulthood where he's now selling dolls of himself as a baby diaper wearing version of himself with a beard to children. He specifically markets it to kids, which is kind of really fucked up if you add, in addition to the dolls, the fact that like there's so many instances of him defending pedophiles, like defending John Duggar, defending the Catholic Church, defending Catholic priests. He's like, he defends pedophiles prolifically. If they're Catholic, then he says that it's not a pedophile problem, it's a gay problem. But anyways, gross dude. Gross dude. A lot of grossed up shit to see. Did he take down the Sweet Baby Gang dolls? Or is it going to be under best selling? What is a woman? What is a woman? What is a candle? Johnny the Walrus. Holy shit, I might be the first person to have discovered this. Alright, let's see, alphabetically. Regular patch. What is a candle? He's changed the scented candles from the Sweet Baby Gang candles, too. They're no longer the Sweet Baby Gang scent, which again was disgusting. Holy shit. Okay, wait, is this because I'm on the Canadian store? Is this, has he taken it away from us Canadians? Store.dailywire.com. Alright, well, first things first, I need to show you Sweet Baby Gang doll. I'll show you the old screenshots of before he took this down. Clearly, if he's taking this down, he's trying to hide his tracks. So here's the original product. From the store, the Sweet Baby plushie. There's the monstrosity itself. Matt Walsh definitely wants you to buy this. The Sweet Baby plushie is the perfect statement piece for your home, for your kids to play with, or to give to gifts as friends, family, and random pedestrians. Have a walrus? The Sweet Baby plushie makes the perfect combination to his flippered counterpart. Limited quantity available, so buy yours before they are gone. This may be effectively taken away. Let's just make sure for sure. Okay, how about we go search? Sweet Baby Gang. Oh, wow. So maybe it's taken down. You're gonna be making a tweet about this. This is breaking news, everybody, okay? And this is important. The fact that they've not only taken this down, they've acknowledged that it was creepy. So this acknowledges the wrongdoing as well.
A hilarious stand-up set. Even if you agree with it. You're not going to say, you're not going to pretend that it's funny. It's like, okay, well, that's, you're criticizing Donald Trump. Have you ever browsed in incognito mode? Well,
I just got to be honest, to the people, the staff who do the like ad reads, when he's in the middle of a thought that he needs to be able to conclude to prove his point, don't interrupt that and then add the ad insert. Because now people returning, even if you cut it off properly, it's going to be very awkward.
And then it's hilarious. And then you just, it's uproar. It's the funniest thing you've ever heard in your life. People, the audience is they're breathless. They are breathless with laugh. They're doubled over laughing because he put the F word in there. That is the whole, that's the John Oliver secret. That's how you take run-of-the-mill CNN tier commentary and you turn it into, apparently, hilarious, uproarious, comedic brilliance, and you should win 57 Emmys for it. That's what we're supposed to believe anyway. But I don't believe it, and it annoys me that people on the left pretend to believe it. And as for the substance of this latest comedy bit from John Oliver, you know, it goes without saying, of course, that if any white person did exactly this same thing, but directed it at a black liberal instead, then they would be condemned as racist by...
Wait, is this your attempt for the first time? Are you, what's this called again? When you're feigning outrage for points, you want to signal to everyone that you have virtue. what's going on here? And you're going to pepper in a little bit of, let's just say, politics of an identity variety. Is this Matt Walsh's first attempt? Yeah.
The entire media and everybody on the left. And, you know, they would be trying to put him in jail probably for it. And it would.
So his point here being that going after Clarence Thomas, if he had made the same segment, but instead of going after Clarence Thomas, you know, he had gone after a liberal black person, everyone would say, well, this is incredibly racist. How dare you? How dare you do this? Even though nothing about the segment in any way, shape, or form said that Clarence Thomas specifically was getting these bribes from this bizarre person obsessed with neo-Nazi and Nazi memorabilia, had anything to do with him being black. There was nothing in the segment about that specifically. In fact, he points out the fact that Clarence Thomas is the person who seems to take a lot of these gifts at a higher rate than anybody else, and also seems to take also a very strong stance towards, again, upholding structures of, say, white supremacy or other structures of power themselves at the behest or at the pleasure of traditionalists, you know, conservatives, right wings, Christians, Catholics, the nationalists as well. Of course, they want to return to tradition. Of course, they want to uphold power structures. Of course, they want to do all that. And then in turn, if it happens to be someone who is doing it but is also black, this is where Matt Walsh's first attempt, I guess, at doing identity politics doesn't really make any sense.
You know, because obviously, right, you got a white guy trying to buy off a black public official. It's openly saying this guy's for sale. I'm buying you. As a black public, I'm going to buy you.
They're really bad at this because, hey, no, but they don't actually talk ever really about what is racism, what is he spends all day downplaying the horrors, atrocities, and severity of slavery. He's on the record talking about how, like, look, a lot of you want to say that, like, you know, slavery was bad. I'm not going to disagree, but like if there wasn't slavery or colonization of natives, then we wouldn't have America. So, I mean, you ever think about that? And I was like, yeah, I have heard that line of reasoning. You hear about it on very, very racist forums or in alt-right circles, racist circles, 4chan kind of style stuff. The alt-right loves these talking points. Stormfront too. Like, that's usually a thing that is brought up. It's like, why does everyone complain about things like colonialism or slavery when it has led to NyQuil and the society that we have today? So, you know, what do you think about that? And so now that he's trying to do, some mid-Polish, he's like, well, clearly this is an example of them saying that, like, you know, a white person bought a black person. So so they're the racists now.
And in any other context, that would be, it would be considered to be just insanely racist. But those rules are suspended, of course, because it's Clarence Thomas, and they despise him, in fact, significantly.
It's not there was a suspension of rules because it's playing for the other team. Don't get me wrong. People are hypocrites, and people oftentimes won't call out their own properly or to the right extent. You know, you'll see that a lot with right-wing people and pedophiles and groomers, like the actual pedophiles and groomers. Lots of people on the right, anywhere from, like, you know, Catholics to Christians to police officers to teachers to a whole bunch of, like, right-wing politicians when they turn out to be groomers, pedophiles. The right doesn't call them out. You know, they might just, like, quietly hope they go away and not talk about them, or they'll just outright be like, oh yeah, it's totally fine. That they were just, you know, talking about a 17-year-old girl, and who among us has not talked about the ideal age of impregnation before, like shit like that. So yeah, you'll see this, but this is not an example of that. This is just you misunderstanding what exactly is racism, right?
More than they despise any white person who has the same ideas, or even any other. I mean, you might, like, why are they so hung up on Clarence Thomas? There are other conservatives on the Supreme Court. Not enough, in my opinion. Not enough.
But you're not happy with the majority? I guess you want all, right? Yeah, I get. Yeah, it makes sense. Theocratic fascist. Yeah, checks out.
Reliable ones. But why all this special vitriol for Clarence Thomas? And the answer is that because he's black, and so they consider his conservatism to be.
Oh, he's doing it. Look at him signaling his virtues. It's trying anyway, you know? Look at this. So this is what we know in the game as concern trolling, by the way. This is concern trolling that he's doing. He's trying to... Oh, I just realized that we're wearing similar shirts. Yeah. Yeah, well, this is just to point out that, like, not all plaid all right, or played, however you like to say it, but not all plaid. Okay, there's people who can be both woke and anti-woke, who both enjoy the same patterns and garments. Just wanna put it out there. But anyways, he's trying his best right now. This is concern trolling. He doesn't actually care about racism. He doesn't care about black people. He hates black people. He loves racism. That's kind of just Matt Walsh. It's his entire fucking brand, and you know, it's the entire package. And what he's doing here is he's trying to act like, well, you know, liberals normally, they would be completely against this bit. They would think it was disgusting that they assume that, you know, a black person of any kind was for sale. And it's like, this is not about buying and selling another human being and then making that part of, let's just say, an entire slave trade for hundreds of years. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about how someone is in a position of power, and that person in a position of power is receiving a lot of gifts from private individuals in the United States, as are other Supreme Court justices, by the way, that were also mentioned in that segment. Yeah, it just turns out that Clarence Thomas is the worst amongst them, who is both ruling in favor of conservative and conservative values, who's also taking a lot of gifts from people who want him to rule in favor for conservative values and far right values and stuff like that. And that's why he became, at the very end of the segment, the person behind the joke that John Oliver is making. That's the whole bit. That's why he did it.
Sort of a betrayal. John Oliver believes that he owns Clarence Thomas. He believes that Thomas, being a black man, belongs to him ideologically. And the fact that he isn't cooperating, the fact that he is his own man with his own point of view, sends guys like John Oliver into a rage.
The point of the bit, and the only reason the bit would be funny, is that he is saying that this shouldn't be possible. He's trying to make it, like, make you aware through this entire, like, you know, offer. It's very unlikely that Clarence Thomas is going to take this offer publicly. That's probably not going to happen, okay? But he's making this anyway because it brings to light to everyone who's watching. But can he do that? Because you've got this one, you know, John Oliver makes a racist joke quarterly. It's like John Oliver is going to get sued now and stuff like that. The whole point of this is that, like, he shouldn't be able to. A private citizen with means, capital, under capitalism, shouldn't be able to influence the highest court in the land in any way, shape, or form. You can say that you separate the two. You can be like, well, yeah, I do get all of these, like, trips and mansions and payments, and, you know, my kids, like, private school paid off. All that kind of stuff does happen as a result of these gifts that come in, but they don't influence me in any way, shape, or form. Well, it should be like, shouldn't you not be able to be influenced, period? Like, we shouldn't just even leave this one up to chance. You could be telling the truth. That could be true, but it won't be true for every human being, because human beings are human beings. We're fallible. Like, we shouldn't have the supreme beings, you know, a supreme set of just a small amount of people who make rules for hundreds of millions of people, or can affect the lives of hundreds of millions of people, and those same people can then be influenced by presence. That's the point of all this. It doesn't matter whether they are white or black. If anything, you could point out that a lot of the systems of, say, white supremacy may be held up by even a black person in a position of power who is going to do things to the benefit of white supremacy. That's what you could point towards happening.
The amount of undisguised contempt that they have for this guy. I mean, starting with the fact he's calling Clarence Thomas by his first name, you know, not using his proper title, spitting in his face, basically, calling into question his basic integrity as a man. And he feels...
It's so funny watching him concern troll over this, because, like, it's just, like, it's not his luck. He's trying his best, though, right? Just being like, well, the true racists are the liberals. And then the liberals and the liberal comedians, you know, here, this whole thing is about owning him like as if he was a slave. Yeah, that's a little inappropriate, isn't it, liberals? You know, basically spitting in his face. Yeah, that's happening here too, in the same sketch.
Absolutely entitled to do all of that because Thomas has betrayed him by not being a Marxist ghoul. Now, you know that I'm not one to do the whole Dems are the real racist bit. You know, that's not my thing. You know how I feel about.
Well, you're just not good at it. I'll give you that. You tried, though. You know, you certainly took a swing and a miss, but that, you know, it did not work like the rest of it. Much better in your lane just being an out and proud bigot, you know? And then trying to normalize fucking, like, really far-right extreme white supremacist shit. Yeah, that, like, you're a little bit better at that for sure. You can all of a sudden make people, like, second guess and be like, wait, what the fuck? Is he saying that, like, even though slavery is bad, we needed it to happen to get to America today, and so we can't actually actually be against slavery. That's the way white supremacists talk on the storm fronts. He's saying that out loud. Wow, he's normalizing that. That one fits him way better than the whole, like, actually I want to present to you, all of you, how I care deeply about racism and racism's bad. Oh, it's bad. It's bad. It's racism, bad. Yeah.
About that generally. But in this case, you really just can't help but notice that John Oliver literally treats the guy like an escaped slave. That is actually how he treats him. I mean, he's trying to buy him back. That's what he's doing. And he's doing all this while being painfully unfunny on top of it, which again, that is the real offense here. Because even all this, even everything else, you put aside how morally objectionable it is, if he was actually able to do it in a funny way, then you could at least give him credit. I could say, well, I disagree with it. I might even have moral qualms with it, but it is funny. I'll give him that. But you can't say that because there's no joke here.
I think that it's really not your lane to pick either comedy or you're mad about racism as your point of argument.
Himself into a fraud lawsuit for misusing cameo videos from a former Republican politician.
Oh, I thought this was an old video. I was like, what the fuck is with the quality? Why does this look like it was filmed on like a 10-year-old webcam? But this was 1 day ago. All right.
Well, I guess still Republican politician.
Do I have it on? It's on 720.
Spiral of Kimmel, SNL. Of course, Stephen Colbert's unhinged meltdown over Trump, where he screams like a demon into the camera. That went viral the weekend. Now failing late night show host / comedian or whatever, I guess he thinks he calls himself, John Oliver has resorted in the face of plummeting ratings to publicly offering a bribe to a Supreme Court justice. Now I hear you in the comments saying, well, nothing's going to happen because everyone's corrupt. And you're probably right, but something's got to give. And the more times these unhinged lunatics do these things, I'm hoping at some point there's some Republican judge out there or some Republican who will take a stand against this because we look at the way the judicial system has been weaponized against, Donald Trump or anybody who dared to attend the trespassing event back in January. I mean, I don't like to get down into the mud and fight with people. I think in general,
I can't see any stories about him plummeting in the ratings. His ratings by all the Nielsen stuff that I'm seeing right now seem pretty consistent. Is there something I'm missing? Look at news. John Oliver ratings.
That's bad, but I'm warming up to the idea. Now, get the F off the Supreme Court. Comedian John Oliver offers to pay Justice Clarence Thomas $1 million a year and hand him a $2.4 million RV if he resigns from his Supreme Court justice position. A clear bribe. He had the actual device, they had the RV on camera. I mean, to me, this would be more than enough to charge him. It'll be interesting to see if some judge has the stones. Comedian John Oliver has offered Justice Clarence Thomas $1 million a year and a $2.4 million motor coach to get the F off the Supreme Court. John Oliver, by the way, not a United States citizen. Only in America would Americans be importing these moronic Brits because their accents.
Oh, you're just completely happy as long as they're on your side, Like there's no one calling out and say like, if John Cleese suddenly got like a Fox News show, y'all would love him. Y'all love Ricky Gervais whenever he's doing transphobic shit. He's like, oh, I like his penises. Or Russell Brand. There's another good example of Russell Brand. Is like, oh, I like his penises. Oh, yeah. Then you're like, oh, these guys are amazing. I love every single one of them. They all sound the same for some reason.
Their funny accents makes them sound funny or sound smart. Only in America where we take the rejects from the UK and pretend like they get our country. I've never seen so many morons, quote tweeting Pierce Brosnan like he understands anything about America. Or of course,
yeah, and again, when it happens to be people that you like, like even Pierce Morgan is a good example of someone who on a regular basis is like the right sometimes like, oh, okay, I get it, and then you're like, oh, how dare he speak about America? Oh no, actually no, he does get America. No, he hates America. I don't like him. I love him. I hate him. I love him.
John Oliver or any one of these James Corden or all these idiots that are, dominate late night television shows. I know everyone from the UK always tells me no refunds. I understand.
So, according to Nielsen ratings, Last Week Tonight exhibits exceptional demand in the United States, 35.4 times the audience demand of an average show. This piece of information is invaluable without content evaluation. The content variation is a complex process that requires the consideration of many factors. This sounds like it's fucking AI written. Last Week Tonight, in a 2024 article, hit season high in viewership. Oh, wow. So then where is it coming from that he's like plummeting in the ratings? That's the part I can't find. Well, I'm sure it's out there somewhere. I'll track it down eventually.
And Clarence Thomas took these bribes or unfairly enriched himself. That's obviously wrong, and it's just as wrong as if a Democrat had done it. Again, I assume basically that everybody is on the take in these various positions. You see Clarence Thomas.
So then you agree with the entire premise of the sketch. Your thing here is just I hate libs. That's the whole fucking video. Is he going to face 15 years in prison for bribery? No, he's not. He's not. It would be a pretty stupid move to publicly state on, like, air on a show that has millions and millions of viewers that he is intending to bribe someone in order to coerce them and coerce court decisions. He's actually publicly stated that he's going to give him $1 million a year and he wants him to quit.
Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Can you please hit the like and subscribe button and maybe leave a comment? It really does help the videos out. But first, the people who produce everything you see before you and make this entire channel possible: Amazing Fletch, Anna Loves Riley, Ariane McCarthy, Cheryl Alvarez, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Hagbard Celine, Multimondi, Omni, Peanut Butter Blondie, Political Puppy, Quiet 185, Rachel K, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Ruby K, Cernicus, Spinach Monster, Stellar Vision, Sebastian DeMel, Trevbot.exe, Words Greenwood, and Travis McClinton. And also, thank you to every other person who helps fund this show. Their names are on the screen right now. It would not be possible without every single one of them. We cannot thank you enough. And if you want to join the Patreon, please come to patreon.com/theserfs and help us exist.